Hey, are you about done? No, we close in about 10 minutes. No, feel free to finish your drink. It's okay. I'm in no great rush to leave anyway. I have 1,001 glasses to wash and clean. Are you alright? Yeah? Hey, I've been listening to stories and tales for a little while, so don't be shy. If you want to talk about anything, just let me know. You have that look in your eye. I tell you what, how about I close the place up? I whip you something up to drink and we can have a chat. Sounds good. I said the company will be welcome. I have all these glasses to clean anyway, so don't worry about it. Give me a moment. What have you been drinking? Okay. Well, legally I'm required to ask for your ID, but if you're underage, I can make a non-alcoholic version. But how about I take you through a little bit of the story of absinthe? Alright, well, get comfortable. I'm something of an absinthe connoisseur, so any opportunity to talk about it at length, I'll snap your hand right off. Sure. Like I said, get comfy, and I'll whip you up a quick drink, and we can sit down and maybe I'll have a beer. We've also got popcorn and chips and crisps, and we can have a chat. Sure. Alright. No, I don't usually work here. I have a stake in the bar. I co-own half of it, and sometimes I cover. My brother works here. People say we look alike, but he doesn't have the beard. He's worked here for almost all his adult life. Oh, you've met him? He's a good guy, right? Yeah, he's a nice guy. Our lives went off in different paths, but before we get into that, I'll get you this drink. Now, absinthe is a curious drink because it's one of the few alcoholic beverages that faced prohibition. This is absinthe. Now, it's a very, very, very potent spirit. It's based around the anise and absinthe plant. And the way in which the typical absinthe drink is prepared is quite unique. I like watching the process, and I thought I'd incorporate it into our bar. You know? Let me, get a glass. Absinthe is drunk in a very specialized glass. Absinthe is poured to the depth of the bowl, and then very, very, very cold water is usually poured over a sugar cube. Just sit back and watch. a knife, such as this, is placed over the glass. The sugar cube is then placed on top. The absinthe is measured to this portion here, and slightly warmer than freezing cold water is poured and dripped onto the absinthe. Let's go ahead. Get this poured. Now, as I said, absinthe is typically served heavily diluted. It is a spirit, usually comprising a strength between 45% right up to 70%. What we'll be drinking today is 65% proof. It's a very, very rich anise or aniseed smell. It's rich, and it's got a very subtle floral undertone, and that's primarily because of the botanicals that the absinthe is prepared with. But let me make the drink, and then we can get into more of the specifics. If available, a French rough cut sugar cube is the perfect accompaniment. To the absinthe drink. They look a little bit like this. And is then placed onto the glass. The water, the chilled water, is then poured onto the sugar cube, and the water drips down. Now, a high quality absinthe, a true absinthe, will have a very visible chemical reaction. The solution should turn milky and quite cloudy. Let's see. As I said, even the water that we use is specialized. This doesn't have to be dripped. It can be. But we're looking for a gradual release. And in time, see the solution start to color. And that milky, cloudy effect is stunning to watch. You can see the sugar cube beginning to break down. Providing a nice sweet overtone. And there we have a perfect absinthe drink. Enjoy. Me, I was just gonna have a beer. I take enormous pride in not only providing absinthe of this quality, but preparing it. What do you think? I'm glad to hear it. Alright, before I get my drink, how about some salted chips, or crisps as we say in the UK, or popcorn? I can get both. What kind of popcorn though? Buttered, salted, sweet? Salting sweet? Alright, I'm gonna have butter, but there you go. We have the little bowls behind the bar. Yeah, of course. Let me just, what am I drinking? It's something called Blue Moon. Now, I'm not much of a drinker, ironically, even though I part own a bar. I've never really enjoyed beer all that much. I always wanted to. That might sound strange, but I always wanted to enjoy beer. But the taste just never sat quite right. Even a lot of spirits, absinthe and maybe an Aberlour whiskey. With the exceptions of those, alcohol's never really sat well with me. But Blue Moon beer, it's a Belgian beer, and it's has a citrusy overtone, sweetness to it that softens out the harshness of that kind of beer taste that is so prevalent in most beers, unsurprisingly. Now, once I get this opened, we can have a chat. Cheers. Yeah, no, I can give you a quick run through of the history of absinthe. It's refreshing. And you're really enjoying it. I'm really glad to hear it. Absinthe, when you first smell it, again has a very heavy and very obvious aniseed flavor. Aniseed in a similar sense to licorice. It's a love or hate, I think. But where absinthe stands alone, and I have heard a comparison to sambuca, I need to address that very common misconception. So absinthe, while it does have the anise plant in it, it has so much more. Absinthe is spirit, but the botanicals used in the fermentation process, the actual plant, absinthe, or it's actually called wormwood. Not woodworm, but wormwood. Naturally, that didn't have a very attractive name, so people tend to call it absinthe. But there is a series of botanicals, and originally absinthe was brewed for its healing or alleged healing properties. And it was first brewed in Switzerland in kind of late 19th century, in the 1870s, I think. Sorry, in the late 18th century, I think in the 1750s, 1760s, something like that. And originally it was never that popular. It was brewed by a father and his son-in-law, I think. And they moved from Switzerland to France at the turn of the century. And in the 19th century, absinthe really came to prominence. It was especially popular in the artisan square, and anybody that was creating had this natural draw, this natural affinity to absinthe. People would joke that the little green fairy that was absinthe would provide inspiration. And it's funny that in most of Europe, but in France, in this case, by today's standards, in the 19th century, almost everybody was considered an alcoholic, literally in terms of how much they drank. And absinthe wasn't, if you compare the consumption of amaranth or absinthe to wine, people drank wine like water. And unfortunately, absinthe was gradually used as a scapegoat. There was a theory behind it that it had psychedelic properties. That drinking enough absinthe, you'd be visited by this green fairy. And it was on the strength of that claim that absinthe was placed under prohibition for almost 100 years. It was lifted in 2007, so it spent all of the 20th century, almost all of the 20th century, under prohibition, meaning it was illegal, it was outlawed. You couldn't brew it, you couldn't buy it, and you certainly couldn't drink it. And it wasn't until, I think, 1970s or 1980s that it came back into discussion. And then later, a university professor decided to address the myth of these psychedelic properties. I can talk about absinthe all day. Very passionate about it. People forget that absinthe is drunk at a very diluted level. It shouldn't be any more concentrated than the strength of wine, a glass of wine. Of course, at its base, before dilution, it is a very strong spirit. Let me grab my popcorn. Me, it's always butter. So, you've heard me drone on about absinthe. When I first came over, take your empty. You had that look, that kind of unannounced resignation behind your eyes. That you were unwilling to burden the world with your problems and your concerns, but your eyes gave you away. I said I might not work here that often, but I cover enough shifts to recognize that the look of a good person who's going through some tough times. Well, please, relax. Enjoy your drink, because we have all the time in the world. Yeah, I'm in no rush to get home. So, what happened? It's a tough one. I don't blame you for being in a bar. We have a way of trivializing our suffering, regardless of what it is. Because, again, it's that fear of burdening, the fear of opening up, for so many reasons. I saw a picture once of, it was in a kitchen. There was a stack of plates behind glass kind of cabinet doors. And the stack of plates had rolled forward and were leaning against the pane of glass from the inside. And if you were to open the cabinet door, all the plates would have come rushing out and smashed on the floor. And the caption was something like, "People wonder why I don't open up." And I think it captures what you just said so perfectly. Kind of clearly articulates that struggle we go through. Of course, there are some that are and have to be very vocal with their troubles. It's a coping mechanism, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a psychologist, but I know we haven't known each other for very long, but I want you to know that no matter what it is that you're going through now, or you're worried you might have to go through, nothing lasts forever. No matter how dark and how long a tunnel can seem. Every tunnel ends. There's always There's always an end. And even if enduring the tunnel might seem unbearable sometimes, just hold to it and you will come out the other side. Because nothing lasts forever. Even pain. But this is meant to be about you, not meant to be about me. Yeah, my brother. It's funny that we went off on very different paths. Yeah, he works here 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts. And I've told him he doesn't need to work that, but he's the most people-orientated person that's introverted that I've ever met in my whole life. But him and I are quite similar. And we're not twins, but we're just a little, less than a year apart. And I'm the older. I went to college when I left school, and I dropped out after less than 6 months. I was just buying myself time to work out what I wanted to do with my life. I don't know if that's something you can understand, but I guess to some people it was a huge waste of my life. 6 months that amounted to nothing. I appreciate people who've dropped out after far later, or far longer, but my brother did the same thing. He dropped out after, I think, 3 months. And we were both sat at home. We had part-time jobs. And he got a job in this bar. And I worked part-time in a petrol station, a gas station. And I told myself I would take a break for a year. He said the same thing. Then we would go back to college. Start making steps in our life, 1 year became 2, became 3. And I was sat at like 24, 25, thinking, if I don't go back soon, I'm going to be in this bar in my 30s. And I went back, at 24 I think I was, just turned 24. 3, maybe 4 years of working in this gas station, with nothing else to show for it. I learned to drive. Bought himself a little car. And I went back. And at the beginning it was very similar to the first time. I couldn't apply myself. I just wanted to come home and play video games. And the only reason I stayed in this time, my brother and I were lucky enough to be born with the most loving and compassionate, kind parents. All my parents ever wanted from us was for us to be happy. And my brother was happy in the bar. He said he's a people person who's introverted. But me, I didn't really enjoy the petrol station. So I went back, and my only motivation to stay in this time and this is going to sound ridiculously cliched, but was to cling on long enough to pass and to have something tangible that my parents could be proud of. And bearing in mind, this is college, not university. So this is like step one. Like, easy version, easy mode of uni, I guess. But I hung in. I met my two best friends there. I didn't like it. I hated it. I liked that I met these two guys who I'm still best friends with today. But every day was a struggle of, I don't want to go. But I kept going and kept looking my way through exams. And at the end of it, I left with a diploma in computer networking and technical support. Got a job as a security guard because I couldn't get a job in IT. So it was kind of right in the midst of financial crash. And I was thinking, I went through these 3 years for nothing. I can't even get a job. This diploma is useless. And I had an opportunity to go to university for years 3 and 4 and pick up a degree. But I couldn't face anymore. I made my parents enormously proud by graduating with an A. And that was enough for me. Now I just wanted to get a job. And yeah, ended up taking a job in security because there just was nothing in IT. And what little there was kind of hotly contested from IT professionals who had been made redundant from their own jobs due to the financial crisis. But I've been lucky my whole life. So lucky. In everything. And a little while after being a security guard, this site that I was guarding, you get talking to people, I guess. One of the account managers of this company offered me a job. It was just like a basic kind of admin dude. I was, booking meeting rooms and sending a little bit of kind of junk email. Not junk email, but I wasn't doing a whole lot, but it was sold to me as a foot in the door. And by this point, I think it was a year and a half, I've been made lead security guy. And I didn't do anything special, don't get me wrong. All I did was turn up to my shift on time and I didn't sleep. But by security standards, this puts you like in the elite. Like you're the man. You're the bomb if you can do that. Your job. So I was kind of reluctant to walk away from this security job that I knew how to do into this administration job that I knew nothing about in an industry which was oil and gas that I knew also nothing about. But, I need to clean some of these glasses. I took the job. And I tell you, I was so nervous. So nervous. But luck, Lady Luck was on my side. And I started to climb the ladder. I became like an engineering assistant. I wasn't an engineer by any means. Math and I have never really seen eye to eye. think given my name is Matt, I would have some kind of affinity to math, but apparently that one character difference is one difference too much. But yeah, I was an engineering assistant, which meant I helped with some of the technical documentation, understanding what our document suite would look like, everything that we had to deliver. And I worked away at it. I listened, and I was very lucky with my project engineer. He spent a lot of time and invested in me as a person, He took time to explain things, and he took me through technical drawings and things that I otherwise wouldn't have had a clue how to even navigate around. And he explained all of that. And to my credit, for the first time ever, I guess I picked it up relatively well. I still doubted myself every day. I still thought that this is going to end up in failure. I'm going to be humiliated at some point. But it didn't. Remarkably, it didn't. And then I went into planning, as in project planning. And I kept going. And now I'm in a different company, and I'm now a project planning consultant at the age of 33. And I was able to buy part of this bar. I work a job I don't really like, if I'm honest. It's not my passion, and it's not something that I love, but it affords me the most incredible opportunities where my family's concerned. I was able to, my mum had always dreamed of seeing the Northern Lights. Ever since we were kids, my brother and I. She'd always talk about them and one day hope to see them. And after a couple of months of working this consultancy position, I decided that I was in a position to take Mum and my dad to this Arctic resort called Kakaslauten. Oh my God, man. That's, and will probably always be, one of the proudest moments of my life. I kind of give myself a bit of a hard time with everything in my job and my career. I always doubt myself and put myself down, but this one I did good. See my mum's face when we saw the Northern Lights, the cabin that we stayed in. It's everything I could ever have hoped, and it's still but a fraction of what my parents deserve. A fraction, because they're the most beautiful people. Honestly. And my brother, he's the salt of the earth. He really is. You should come by again. He's always here. Can't just look for the guy that looks like me but no beard. And even though he never went back to college, he never wanted to. He doesn't resent me for having a little bit of success. He doesn't resent me for being able to take Mum and Dad away to this crazy place in the Arctic. Well, near the Arctic. He's happy. He's talking to people every day, and he's helping them. And that's all my parents want for him, and that's all he wants. He still talks about going back to college one day and making his million. Maybe he will. Maybe you will. But I'll tell you something for nothing. there's a lot to be said for just being content in life. It's very easy to look across the fence, to look at how everyone else is doing. And that's something my brother taught me. Don't compare yourself ever to how somebody else is doing, because that's not your path, that's not your journey. You are doing what you're doing, experiencing what you're experiencing. There are millions of people out there that might look to your life and think, that's what I want. You might think that's crazy. I don't have this and I don't have this. But there's always somebody worse. There's always somebody better too. Unless you're the best. But just focus on your path. Walk it. And, my brother told me something once, and it's never ever left me. Sometimes we just can't be happy in life. Or rather, some people just can't be happy. No matter the circumstance, their brain or their circumstance or their family or their friends just won't allow them to be happy. And he said that this girl he was talking to one day, she had said to him that, if you can't be happy, if you know you can't be happy, then don't give up. Take the life that you've been given and help bring joy and happiness to other people's lives. So even if you can't feel satisfaction and contentment, you can gift that to other people. If you can't be happy, be kind. Just a simple moment of happiness can mean the world to someone. And if you're able to do this every day, my brother speaks to people at this bar for hours, sometimes past closing. I guess similar to what I'm doing now, but it can really help. And I know that what you're going through just now isn't to be envied, to say the least, but all we can do is try, right? That's all we can do. But anyway, that absinthe went down well, right? I want you to know that if you ever have this feeling, always come swing past this bar. And if I'm not here, my brother definitely will be. Just tell him we had a talk. I'll tell him when I go home anyway, but between him and I, we'll always have an ear open. Okay? Yeah. It can be difficult to get hold of absinthe, but you will get bottles of it on Amazon, but it can be quite expensive. It's actually still illegal to buy, I think, in most bars, if not all in America. You can legally buy it outside of a bar environment, but I think most bars still have absinthe under prohibition. It's weird, right? Yeah, it was disproven that there is no psychedelic effect whatsoever in it. But yeah, it was disproven by I think it was a professor. There is a high content of alcohol in it, but if you drink a bottle of whiskey, you're going to be messed up. that doesn't mean that there's psychedelic properties to it. An absinthe is the same thing. There is no psychedelic nature to it. But you drink a bottle of it and you're gonna lose control of your legs. You know? Sure. No, anytime. Here. Really good to meet you. You come past anytime you like. I can listen and talk all night. Thanks. Sure. Well, if my little story of absinthe didn't send you to sleep, then... Yeah. Alright. No, the drink is on me, as is the popcorn and the chips. I insist. I'll borrow you. I would never. Alright. No. You can pay next time. It's great to see you. And great to have met you. You take care, okay? And I'll see you soon.